we go out sailing on occasion, you know, it's just, he's just out to unwind, you know. We have certain rules. We don't talk politics. We don't talk about, well, what's a better way to do this, because that's not what it's for. You're out to chill down and unwind.
Despite some of the downsides of political life, Mary Easley says it is her husband's passion to serve the public that drives him.
Well, we're only on Earth a short time, and I think that one of the things that we're all obligated to do is figure out what our gifts are and then share those with other people. Neither one of us have ever been particularly interested in monetary concerns. Making a lot of money really wasn't a very high priority for either one of us. We weren't animated by that, but we were animated by whatever work we were doing.
Mary Easley says public life hasn't changed the man she married.
Well, he's kind of a what you see is what you get kind of guy. You know, he is who he is, and that is who he is when he's out publicly, and that's the way he is when he's in private with us. It's just the same.
He has a very strong sense of his priorities, the order of things as he perceives them. And as I say, he has the ability to stay pretty well true to that, and he is not knocked off course much in that. He was under tremendous pressure, and he had to make some unpopular decisions, but he didn't complain and did what he thought he had to do and what he thought was in the state's best interest, and just went about it pretty methodically and went on about his business. But that's the kind of, I mean, that's the way he operates, the way he always has.
He's very smart. He understands a situation and problems quickly. He's not afraid to take action, even if it's not popular. He's been courageous, and I think those kind of qualities served him well as a district attorney and as an attorney general and as our governor in these difficult times.
On election night, voters decided to send Mike Easley back to the governor's mansion for another term. During his victory speech, the governor promised to work hard to ensure that all children in North Carolina have the opportunity to reach their full potential.
And I say to the people that I will take your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions, and your aspirations, and I will embrace them as my own. And I will work as hard as I can every day, in every way, with all of my energy, to bring to the people of this state what they so richly need and deserve. Thank you all for all of your help. God bless you, and God bless North Carolina.
Well, Governor, thanks so much for joining us as we look ahead to your next 4 years in office. On election night during your victory speech, you talked about being bold and aggressive and that there's more work that needs to be done. As you look to your next term, what's the #1 priority you'd like to accomplish?
Well, I think first of all is to set the right attitude. #1 priority is to make sure people do understand that we can't be satisfied with the status quo. You never can be satisfied where you are in this economy because it's rapidly changing. Certainly not in education, because the economy rapidly changing is rapidly demanding more of education. So though we've made really good progress, and people are proud of that in the state with the high test scores and the high college going rate, we have to do a whole lot more to catch up with and stay ahead of the global era. And that means we have to educate the entire workforce more, and all of the workforce. We don't have the advantage of being able to bring knowledge to one segment of the population and keep the rest just in tow, as we could do in a low-skilled economy. Those low-skilled jobs are leaving this state and this nation, and we have to make sure that we skill everybody. And it's the state's responsibility to do that. The state prepares the national workforce, and every state has to step it up a notch if we're going to compete and maintain our economic dominance in the world economy.
Sticking with education for a moment, looking at the Leandro decision, how will you address the court's decision regarding the need for funding equity for low-wealth schools in North Carolina?
Well, what we've done so far is I've used the executive order that I have, that authority to do some funding in the range of $22 million. But it's important to keep in mind that Leandro talks about constitutional minimums. And that's something that you have to deal with the court system, and we're going to work through all of that. But what we have to stay focused on is how we aren't just the minimum, but we are the best. We have to have a superior system of education as we go forward in this state. Now, if we stay focused on that, and get that superior system of education in place, then we'll take care of the constitutional minimums. At the same time, we've got to go back and look to see where our weaknesses are, where we need to make some changes to retain teachers in hard-to-staff schools, work with those school systems that don't have enough money to meet their capital expenditures as new schools they have to build. Those things are going to have to be dealt with on the state level, and I think it's going to take a different focus on those schools than it will on the schools as an aggregate, and we intend to do both.
You were talking about better preparing our workforce, and that begins with the education process. But on the issue of the economy, how does the state make itself more competitive in this global economy? In particular, how can North Carolina respond to the global trade challenges facing our textile and furniture industries?
There's only one way to respond to this globalization, and that is to educate your way through it. And I think if you look at the textile workers that you mentioned, that's a perfect example of what's happening nationwide. It's just that we happen to have a third of the textile workers in America in North Carolina. So we see those jobs going to China, Vietnam, Malaysia, and elsewhere. Most of those jobs are low skill, low pay, low education jobs. We know there will be an exportation of those through federal trade policies. Consequently, what we have to do is re-educate all of that workforce and make sure that we continue to put a premium on creativity and innovation. That is America's competitive edge, is our innovation, creativity. And the way we maintain that now is through knowledge, talent, and skill. So we try to bring in as many industries as we can that require that, but we have to build a workforce for them or they won't come. If they want cheap labor, they're going overseas to China. If they want skilled labor, we want to make sure they come here. So our goal, and one that we'll meet, is to make sure that the most skilled workforce in America will be found within the borders of North Carolina. And we have to do that at a time when we know these other countries are investing so much more in education. They're catching on. They're getting it now. They're starting to turn out engineers in India. They're starting to turn out more educated people in China, certainly in Singapore. We have to stay ahead of that. We have to stay ahead of every one of those countries in order for us to maintain our dominance in the economy. And if we slip one little bit, have one bad year, we could lose it all. And the people need to understand that, be prepared to make whatever sacrifices are necessary to maintain that creativity and innovation.
How does the state bridge, there is this perceived gap between the urban technical centers in North Carolina and our more rural agricultural areas?
I think the bridge comes in a number of ways. Let me just give you one example. One is the biotechnology network that we're setting up. Though it is centered at North Carolina State University where the clean labs are, we then pipeline it out through our great community college system to all of the 59 campuses so that every North Carolinian can then go and learn how to do biomanufacturing. And that is going to be good skill, good paying jobs, things that we can do that can't be done elsewhere. And the important part of all of that is that everyone is getting an opportunity so that we can spread this wealth out across one North Carolina. And the thing to keep in mind is that we can compete with so many other states and countries in our rural areas where we can't compete in the urban areas because of the cost first of labor and then the cost of capital investment. So we have about a 25% cost advantage if we can do biomanufacturing in the rural areas as to what Boston, San Francisco, San Diego, and Baltimore, our competitors, can do, or what we can do in RTP. That's why this network is so important, and one that I want to see us get fully implemented as we go forward. That's just one example of what we can do.
On the issue of health care, what are some of your objectives as far as overall improving the health of North Carolina citizens?
Well, twofold. First,